Good morning. Thank you for joining me if you are watching live. Pip here. So if you weren't aware, this is like an open day event to discuss some of our provisions at Technology Triumphs. Now, we're going to be today speaking specifically about our mixed media qualifications, explaining what that actually means, giving you some examples of the projects we'll be doing, but also showing you how the qualifications work and how they might work for your home educating learner. I'm just going to give it a minute or so just to allow more people to find us, because obviously I think this is going live through the page rather than the event, because we're using StreamYard so that I can actually physically show you some of the content by sharing my screen with you. Just want to say, feel free to pop any questions into the dialogue box as I'm rambling along. Even if I don't see them straight away, I will come back and visit questions. So if they haven't been answered whilst I've been showing you everything, then obviously I'll come back and make sure that you get the answers you need. Just to start off by explaining what Technology Triumphs is and who we are. If you haven't seen us before, if you're not familiar with us, apologies if you were at our open day event on cookery yesterday, because I've covered this. If you were, you've got time to go get a drink or something. So just to explain that we're a very small group, but a very passionate group of people in terms of wanting to help young people fulfill their potential. And we're made up of a mix of home educators, teachers, and we've even got somebody who was home educated themselves working within us. At the moment, there's 6 of us working in different capacities, bringing you these provisions. So this was set up specifically for home educating learners. As a result of me coming away from teaching in mainstream schools, I started off with 5 young people, teaching them around my dining room table, trying to get them qualification in DT. That was my specialism. Realising very quickly that actually those options are limited, if not impossible, for most home educating families to gain qualifications, formal qualifications in creative and practical subjects, which is why we then set out to make it our mission, basically, to create a provision specifically for home editors so that they're not denied the same opportunities as school attending learners. So we got approval under an awarding body ourselves, so we're not reliant on schools, and you don't have to go to an external exam centre. We have approval through NCFE so that learners work through our courses to achieve the qualification. This isn't just content that you purchase, this is aiming to get to the qualification. And I'll explain how our processes work and what the qualifications are, how that might help for next steps as well. If someone could just say hi so I know that everything is working well. I should have said that earlier on, actually. Can you see and hear me okay? I'm going to be split sharing my screen to show you some examples of, well, the information pack, but also some examples of our workbooks as well, so you can actually get a feel for what they look like and if they work for your learner. So I'm just going to split screen now. So hopefully you can now see a screen that has got Technology Triumphs and NCFE written on it. Just to explain that NCFE is an awarding body. By that, you might recognise names like AQA and EdExcel. NCFE is a really long, it might be one of the oldest awarding bodies in the country, and it's one that I and Debs, who also works with Technology Triumphs, have worked with in schools as well. So they are an official awarding body, and their qualifications are Ofqual approved. So when you are seeking to go on to do qualifications in colleges and you need, for example, GCSEs, this can be in place of GCSEs. So they have Ofqual credits associated with them. And again, I will explain what that all means if you're not familiar with that and how many ours are worth. So for the mixed media, we've got 2 qualifications. We've got a level 1 award in creative craft mixed media and then a level 2 certificate in creative craft mixed media. Now, if you were trying to compare these to GCSEs, something that I always think it's important to highlight is that we can't say that they are equivalent to GCSEs, because whether or not a college determines them to be equivalent can be dependent on the college, it can be dependent on the area you live in, and it can even be dependent on the course you're applying for at the same college. So, for example, one course at a particular college, they might accept one of these qualifications in place of a GCSE, a different course they might not accept. And that can even be determined by how popular the course is that year. So they can change the boundaries, if that makes sense. So everyone has, all their colleges have their own admissions policies. So the best way to determine whether or not a prospective college is going to accept a qualification in place of GCSE is literally just to give their admissions office a phone call and ask them outright, if you was to get this qualification and you give them this title, would they accept it in place of a GCSE, for example, in art and design or DT? Now, the good news is that all the research we've done, we phoned up many colleges, and parents are getting back to us as well from around the country. Everything that's coming back is that, yes, they are being accepted in place of level 2 qualifications, i.e. GCSEs in DT, food tech, art and design. But it's just always worth just checking it if you are dependent on it for entry onto a course, for example. So what is mixed media? This is the question that comes up the most. I think it's not overly clear from the title. So if I just show you, as an example of some of the things that we cover in mixed media. As you can see, it's quite varied. There's a lot here. Effectively, mixed media is anything you can make, anything you can craft. It crosses over a lot into art and design. So if you've got a learner who's interested in art and design, then mixed media may be good for them because there's lots of design work within it. It's not fine art, so we're not drawing bowls of fruit or anything like that. It's more about going through a design process and making something, having something tangible. But what you make, the materials you use and the processes you use, that it could literally be anything. So these are what I've put up on the screen. So architectural model making, special effects makeup, cosplay costumes. These are some of the things we explore in our qualifications, but it's not limited to that. So if you've got a learner that has a particular interest or passion for a particular material, for example, jewelry making, although that is on here, they can go on to explore that in more detail as part of their qualification. So it might be that you've already done classes that aren't towards qualifications, so you've had some tuition or something, or gone even pottery classes or anything, and you want to use those skills and that knowledge to gain a qualification. And you can do that through the mixed media course. So hopefully that explains a little bit more as to what mixed media is, but do ask me if there's a particular material you've got in mind. Ask me if you think that could be covered in the mixed media. I would find it highly unlikely that I'm going to say no to anything because it literally means any medium. So I'm going to carry on. So how do our courses work? So if you're not familiar with us, I'll explain our processes and how they work. So like I say, I started off teaching 5 learners around my dining room table. And then about a year later, a parent asked me if I'd consider putting the provisions online because they couldn't get to me to receive the tuition. Now, there's so many benefits from being able to do this. The biggest one for families is that by putting everything online, with pre-filmed tutorials, you are not paying the cost of a tutor and face-to-face one-to-one tuition. So it brings the cost down dramatically. So as soon as this was sort of proposed to me, I thought this could be a really good way of being able to help more learners. Obviously, five young people around my dining table, that's great, but I wanted to be able to make a bigger impact and help more people. So I spoke to NCFE, and although it wasn't being done anywhere else, and as far as we're aware, nobody else is delivering these courses in the same way we are around the country, we have found a way of being able to remotely deliver these courses so that learners don't have to see us face to face. They don't sit an exam or have to come to us at any point. Everything can be done from home remotely. So the way that it works is that once you enroll onto one of our courses, you receive a login for your learner, and that will carry them through for any courses they do with us. So they have the one login, they could do multiple courses or just the one course. They have that login, and what that gives them is effectively a big storage area where they have access to all of their course content. So we create workbooks for your learner to work through, and that will be uploaded onto your login so that you can download your workbooks and work from them. When you complete your work, you upload it to us using the same learning portal. It's got a massive storage facility. So obviously, when we're dealing with creative subjects, you need photographs and things. So we used to use Dropbox, which obviously was limited in storage space. So this is what we've moved to, which makes it a lot easier for us to store your work and to keep adding to it. And then we upload our feedback back to you. And the other thing about this login, this portal, is that you have an assigned assessor where you can have direct communication with them. So you can, through a messaging service, if you're stuck with anything, you can message your assessor and they can help you. Now, it might be a technical question, or it might be a question in relation to the design process or something in the workbooks. So you have an assigned assessor that can walk you through and help you through your course as well. So as I said briefly, there's no exam. Creative people, I find it very bizarre that you're sort of timetabled or expected to be creative at a particular time of the day or a particular day of the week. So portfolio-based working makes much more sense for creative people, and written exams really doesn't work for me in terms of a creative subject. It should be about knowledge and skills. It shouldn't be about being able to write essays and memorize facts. So it was important for us that we chose a specification that allowed creative people to really develop their portfolio skills and help them into further education. A lot of the team went into university or colleges that were art-based, and you other than a dissertation that you was expected to write, most of your work was portfolio-based and about a creative journey. So we wanted to prepare learners for that, which is why we've opted for this specification. DT GCSEs nowadays, the old school DT, so for example, if you're doing resistant materials or textile design, the majority of the specifications put a 50% weighting on a written exam, a 2-hour written exam where you're expected to have knowledge on electronics, textiles, woodwork, metalwork, all of it lumped into one. Now that to me is totally unrealistic and undermines the subject. So portfolio-based learning is what we've opted for. And not only do we obviously that help you develop your creative aspects, it means there's no pressure on one exam. So your work is assessed throughout the entirety of the course. There's no endpoint date, there's no endpoint exam. So if you need more time to complete the course, then you can take it. So you're not all working towards one date to finish the course. As soon as you finish the course, you have qualified and you can receive your certification, provided all your work is complete and there's no corrections to do. So again, for creative people, or just generally, if you don't do well under stressful situations, a portfolio-based assessment is way better than an exam assessment, in my opinion. So that's how we assess it, and how we actually assess your work and determine how you've passed is through a variety of ways. So written work, there is an aspect of written work, and I'd say it's about a 50-50 split between written and practical work. And then obviously because of the practical work, we need to see photographs of your work, and sometimes those photographs should include pictures of the learner actually doing the work, because then we can evidence that that person is doing the work. And then occasionally we ask for a video log. Now, this is our way of protecting the integrity of the course, and this was our way, when we discussed it with NCFE, of being able to prove that that young person is doing the work and it's not being done for them. So the video log is not something you have to do every session or every workbook. It's an occasional thing. It's like a checkpoint for us to be able to say, yes, we are very confident that person is developing those skills and that knowledge, and it is their own work. Now, I know that might be off-putting for some people, especially anyone that suffers with anxiety. I hated doing lives when I very first started. It was out of my comfort zone. So we fully appreciate that. And we've even created a troubleshoot document to help your learner get through that process. So we have lots of tips and ways to help and guide you and to guide your learner through the video log. So you don't have to have a presentation like a TV presenter or anything like that. It can be quite a rough cut, so long as we can see a second of the person's face and we can see, yeah, that's the young person on the course. You know, there's other tricks we can use so that that anxiety is alleviated. And if your learner is really struggling with the video log at the checkpoint, at the point that it's needed, we can delay it until another time. It is a necessary part of the course. It's our way of being able to get the certificate, obviously, but we can help you, and it doesn't have to be a daunting process. So what else? Okay, so we give you the work in workbooks, and for the creative craft course there are 11 workbooks in total. And the reason that's 11, I mean, it sounds like a random number, doesn't it? And 12 would have made more sense, but the way we've done it is we looked at how you would have done a DT GCSE at school. You'd have started in term 1 at year 10 and you'd have finished by term 5 in year 11, therefore making 11 half terms and 11 workbooks. Now, I'll show you those in a second. They're very engaging and colourful. Again, as visual learners, which most creative people are, then that would be something that I would want if I was doing the work. So we've worked hard to make them as pretty as possible to engage your learners. Now, they've got pre-filmed tutorials, which means there's no timetable in the sense or restriction. You're not expected to log on a certain day of the week or a certain time of the day to watch a video or to watch a live. Everything's been pre-filmed for you, giving you complete flexibility. So you can work through the content at a time that suits you, and it can fit in around your commitments, not the other way around. So we want to make this what's not the words I'm trying to say? I can't get my words out. We don't want this to be a stressful or an additional stress or obstacle that you have to fit in around your busy home ed lives. I'm a home ed mum now myself, and I get it, how there's a lot going on. So you pre-filmed tutorials to make it flexible. We have the assessor support, like I said, through the email system. We have closed Facebook groups which I would really urge you to join, even if you're not booked on yet, but you're thinking about it. Those groups are great for getting a feel for how the courses work. But also, if you've got questions specific that you want to ask other parents or learners, how they're getting on with the courses, then you can join those groups and ask questions on there. Everyone's so helpful and nice, because just generally the home ed community is. And then we've got a Pinterest page. So if you're on Pinterest, it's a great visual research starting block. So what we've done is created a Pinterest page and created boards for each of our courses and pinned anything that we thought would be helpful to our young learners. And then we also, just as an additional support thing and to help motivate, and because it's just fun to do, we have termly awards. So every half term, I go live on the main page and give out awards, which include certificates and prizes to learners based on the work we've seen come in. So it might be that they've achieved something really good, they've shown some resilience, or they're just putting a lot of effort in. But I think more important than that is that we take nominations from parents and facilitators as well. You guys are the ones on the front line, so to speak. You are the ones that see the personal struggles your learner is going through, and you might have had a breakthrough with your learner that might not seem insignificant to the majority, but actually was quite a big deal for you and your learner. So we recognise that, and we welcome nominations from parents as well to give out prizes and certificates for those achievements too. Okay. Any questions? I'm keeping an eye, but I can't see anything come through. Please, if you have any question, there is no such thing as a silly question. Guarantee somebody else would appreciate the answer as well. So please feel free to pop it in the comment box and I'll pick it up as I go. So I obviously have just spoken about the engaging workbook. So what I want to do is actually show you an overview, first of all, on each of the mixed media courses, the level 1 and then the level 2. And then I'll show you the workbooks and how they look as well. I'm just going to change my share screen. So I am going to start with the level 1 mixed media information pack. So this information pack, don't feel like you've got to memorize what I'm talking about here or jot it down. These information packs are actually available in the closed Facebook groups for each course. So if you want to take a look at this later on, you just need to search for Technology Triumphs level 1 mixed media. Request access to that group, we'll let you in, and then in the file section you'll be able to find this and other information as well. So level 1, as I said, 11 workbooks. Now the first 3 workbooks are very prescriptive. They take the learner through very specific tasks to a particular outcome. So workbook 1, we look at jewelry making using polymer clay to keep it more affordable. Workbook 2, we look at wood pyrography, so texture and mark making into wood using heat. And workbook 3, we do a lovely silk painting project looking at Art Nouveau as a theme. So those are very prescriptive. This is what you need to do. This is how you need to do it. These are the tools you need. And then we need to start preparing the learner to become a bit more independent with their thinking. It's all about them developing their portfolio skills and their own style of working. So if all of the workbooks were prescriptive like the first 3, well, for a start, it could get boring for some learners because they might be doing projects that they're not that interested in, but also they're not building their resilience and developing their own independent research skills, and their own creativity is being stifled. So it was important for us to sort of develop that through the course. So from workbook 4 and 5, you do something called a minor project. Now, if you've been to university and done an art course, this might sound familiar, the whole minor major project. So again, it's about preparing learners for further education if you want to go into this sort of creative avenues. So in the minor project, they have 4 different design briefs from which to pick. So I won't read them out to you. As I said, the information's there. But the 4 areas, the material specialisms, are paper crafts, special effects makeup, cosplay costumes, and prop making. So there they can really start to get their teeth into things that interest them. And the design brief has been set, but actually what they make is quite open. So you can see how it's developing that independent working. Once they've done workbook 5, they then move on to their major project. So with this, they don't get a design brief, they get 3 themes they can explore: sci-fi, mythical creatures, and animals and their habitats. So they're quite wide ranging. Really could apply this to so many different things, but actually they have to come up with their design brief. So this is where they really do get to decide what sort of thing they're making. And this is a much more sustained project. So it's taking you through the design cycle, going through research, designing, planning, making, and evaluating. And then workbook 11 is a final evaluation. So you've made a project, you've made a product, whatever it might be, and then you need to evaluate that project through from the researching right to the final product. So that's level 1. Now, as a guide, level 1, if you were completing over 2 years, which is how it's designed to be, we would suggest that you would spend 1.5 to 2 hours a week term time to complete through it within the 2 years. Now, if you want to spend more time than that, that's absolutely fine. It just means you complete sooner. And the complete opposite of that, if you want to spend less time than that, that's fine too. You'll just take longer to qualify. And I really want to emphasize, regardless of how long you take to complete the course, the final total that you pay stays the same. So you don't pay any extra if you need more time to complete the course. We continue to provide the support long after your payment plan is finished. It's important to us that as many young people get the same opportunities as others in mainstream schools. So we are not going to hold back or become an obstacle or limit people that just need a bit of extra time. And to reassure you, a lot of people do opt for extra time. So you wouldn't be a minority if that was you. So I'm going to show you level 2 information pack. I see a question coming up. I'm just going to have a look. How much would you estimate for monthly resources? We are doing as part of an EOTAS package, so need to be able to say how much the course as a whole will cost, but it is so dependent on what media is used. This is a really good question, Nikki. So, and I will talk about affordability in a minute. I think I've touched on it anyway. I come from a working class background myself, so I know what it's like to have to budget. Affordability was a real key point for us in planning all this. Now, it does differ from term to term, and a lot of the materials and tools you use will be used again through future terms. So there might be some initial bigger costs, but then they tail off. And also when it comes to like your major project, it depends what your material, what you're planning on making as to how expensive it could be. So if you've decided you want to do jewelry making, but you're going to use silver instead of polymer clay, then obviously the cost would jump up. But it is in a way that you can manage that, as in you can say, no, you're going to focus on polymer clay. I estimated, roughly speaking, between £10 and £15 per workbook. So, but that's obviously dependent on, or assuming that you don't have any of this stuff already. A lot of people have a lot of these craft items at home. For example, for the wood pyrography course, you need a little soldering iron to be able to do it. Well, some people have those already, and you can pick them up really cheap at boot fairs, but generally you can buy them online for about £10. The wood you use can be scrap wood. So there are ways of making it even cheaper for yourself. It could be an endless amount of money if you were obviously buying very expensive tools and equipment, but I've purposely designed it to be as affordable as possible. Like I said, I didn't want anyone to be eliminated from that. So hopefully that answers your question. I'm going to go on and show you the level 2 mixed media information pack now. So with level 2, same again, you've got 11 workbooks. And the first 3, again, the first 2 are very prescriptive. So again, it takes you through design and make project. First one is film prop making. So looking at magical films. I have a particular favourite magical film, but the person who wrote the books might do me for copyright. So it's generic magical films. And you will look at making film props for those. Term 2 is printing homeware. So we're going to be exploring lino printing, looking at themes such as Marvel, DMC, Pixar, Disney, and manga. You can choose to explore a different theme if you want to. You don't have to stick to those. That's just a starting point for learners who are perhaps new to this process and need that guidance to begin with. The term 3 is where you choose one specialist to focus on for this term, and then watch through the tutorials we provide to guide you through a mini project, and those are self-care products, for example, making your own soaps, cosplay costume again, special effects makeup, and architectural model making. Now, the cosplay and special effects makeup are different from level 1. So if you have done the level 1 first, and those are the areas that you wanted to explore, you can do it again in the level 2. Term 4 and 5 is our minor project. So you are given a design concept, which is the natural world. So one design concept to explore, but then you go on to go through the design cycle to design and make a final product of your choice. So again, you're making up your own design brief. So with the level 2, it gets to much more independent working a lot sooner. So this is where it's better for perhaps older learners or learners that have already been quite involved with crafting activities. Terms 6 to 10, or I say terms, it's workbook 6 to 10. We give you a range of design concepts. I believe there's 8. So looking at, you explore each of these, or you pick one of these: space, the natural world, sustainability, the needs of the elderly, sports and leisure, child development, popular culture, memories. I tried to make these as vast as possible. And then again, you create your own design brief to make a design and make product of your choice. It can be anything. There's never been anything that a learner has come to me saying that they wanted to make, and I've had to say, no, you can't do that. It is mixed media. Any material is good enough for me. And again, that's your sustained project. So it needs to be something that you're really interested in, because it's going to keep your attention. And then finally, for the level 2, for workbook 11, you have to create a presentation. So there's a whole business enterprise unit in level 2, which sets it apart quite a lot from the level 1. So this is quite heavy in terms of written work compared to the level 1. You'll learn about things like business opportunities, business entrepreneurial opportunities, marketing, financial tools. So it's applying knowledge of the real world, as in if you were to go on and actually consider making a living from this industry, how would you do it? So rather than just a question and answer type workbook, what we've done is ask the learners to create a Dragon's Den style presentation. So it could be via PowerPoint or video, where they collate all this information together, selling their product that they've just designed and made. Okay, any more questions? Nope, just double checking. I'm going to show you a couple of the workbook now, so you can see what the actual work would look, and if that would engage your learner. So I will start with level 1. So this is how the workbook. So it looks similar to the information pack. You can see there's lots of colour, mediums. These are not designed to be printed out. This would cost a fortune in ink, and I'm not that mean. These are designed to be literally typed onto. So you can click and type into the boxes. You don't need any paid-for apps to be able to do this. You just need a PDF reader on the device you're working from, which is a free download. So you can see there's information and there's tasks to complete as well. But probably quite importantly, every now and then you can see a direction to a tutorial. So this is the pre-filmed tutorials I was telling you about. Now, there isn't necessarily a tutorial for each session, because that might not be necessary, because once you've developed the skills early on in a workbook, you should be able to apply those later on in the workbook. But they're tutorials where we feel they are necessary. So if it's introducing you to a new material and there's questions specific to that, then the information is going to be included in that tutorial. And you just click on the link and it takes you to our YouTube page where all our videos are. Incidentally, if you want to have a look at those videos, they are all open to the public, because again, we just want to help as many home editors as we can. So you can have a look, scroll through all of our courses and all of our tutorials and just get a feel for them as well. We try to make sure that they're not too long-winded. My attention span, I timed it once when I was at school, was 4 minutes long if someone was lecturing me. And so I can't say that they're 4 minutes long, but we try to keep them as short as possible whilst giving all the information you need, because just rambling for the sake of it doesn't help anyone. So again, they seem to be working very well. Our learners very rarely come to us asking for help because they're stuck on a question. So that indicates to me that everything's there that they need to be there. So I'll just go back to that. Where are we? So as you can see, a range of different tasks. Now, obviously, the work isn't all written. Alongside the written work, you'll be asked to actually make some products. So, for example, here, use the techniques to create an adjustable beaded necklace. Now, you can't upload photos to these documents, unfortunately. You'll be very helpful if we could, but we haven't found a way of doing that. So what we do is suggest that you work in a sketchbook for your design work, as you would if you was at art college, and then take photographs of your pages, which you upload to us, and we call it your photo gallery. So it's effectively an electronic portfolio. And so when you've completed each workbook, all the photos of your practical work or your design work, you put into one document. Most people opt for PowerPoint because it allows you to write titles on it as well. You could use a Word document, but any format's fine, so long as it's one document and you upload it to us with your completed workbook. And within a week, we complete your feedback and send it back to you. And if there's nothing left to be revisited, if everything's fine, then you just move on to the next workbook. You might have some developments or corrections that we've asked you to do. You can do them, but equally, you can still move on to the next workbook and come back to your corrections if you want to. So that's level 1. I'm going to show you quickly a level 2 so you can see the difference in terms of depth as well. Now, I said with the level 1, we would say maybe 1.5 to 2 hours a week dedicated to completing the work. With level 2, roughly speaking, you want to double that. Now, these are just guidances because obviously every learner is different and everyone learns in their own way. But in terms of content, it's double the amount of content. So you would say 4 hours per week if you wanted to complete in 2 years for the level 2. So again, exactly the same format, exploring materials, especially in the initial workbooks, answer the questions based on the information in the tutorials. But alongside that, you're doing some practical work and it builds up. It's a progressive, all of the courses are progressive courses. So you're not expected to start the course at a level 2 standard. You're guided through and you build up and the processes become a little bit more challenging and the work becomes more challenging as you go through. But if you're not sure whether or not your learner would cope with a level 2 or level 1 would be more appropriate for them, what we've done is uploaded some sample sessions, so a session from each of one of the workbooks onto the closed groups. So again, in the file section, what you can do is download a session, have a look at it, maybe have your learner have a look at it, or even have a go at it. And if you think actually that wasn't too bad, maybe time it, because if we're saying, oh, it would take 4 hours to level 2 for one session, what has been uploaded is one session. If your learner gets through that comfortably within 4 hours and it wasn't too stressful and they enjoyed it, then that's a good indicator that they're ready for the level 2. We don't have a minimum or maximum age on our courses because we recognise that every learner is different. We have guidance ages in terms of reading ability for them to be able to understand the questions, for example. And we generally say 13 plus for a level 2. But again, we have a lot younger learners working through the level 2 and doing absolutely fine with it. So again, I would say have a look at the content, maybe have a go. You guys are the best people to determine what your learner is ready for. We can only give guidance. You're the ones working with them and facilitating their learning every day. So you're the best people to make that decision. But if you are really concerned, just to reassure you, if your learner is put on a level 2 and we're assessing the work and start to think they're struggling a little bit, especially as it progresses and the written work gets a little bit more in depth, I would feed that back to you. I'd say, if it's becoming a struggle, do you want to switch to the level 1? Because what we don't want is the learner to be completely switched off from the learning, but we want them to enjoy it and to be passionate about it. So we don't want it to be a chore for you either, trying to get them through the work. So we would feed that back if we thought they were struggling to get through the qualification. And all the payments you've made towards the level 2 would transfer over to the level 1, as would the work. All the work that you've done in the level 2 would count towards the level 1. Likewise, and what happens more often is that someone starts on a level 1 and then I'm assessing the work and thinking, actually, they're working at a level 2 standard. So I might contact you and say, do you want to just switch them to the level 2? We can take the work and we can take the payments you've already made and switch it over to level 2, because it's not about us keeping you as customers for as long as possible. It really is about helping your learners get to where they need to be and for their next steps. So we're not going to make you go through the whole process of entry level, level 1, level 2. We know a lot of service providers make you do that. You can go straight into a level 2 course if you think your learner is ready for it. You're not obligated to have done level 1 first. Right, I'm just going to go back to my little, my other screen that's basically my prompt telling me what I need to talk about next. Again, any questions, please ask. Okay. So flexibility, I think I might have said this a couple of times already, is really key for us. So as I said, you can work through the course at your own pace. So that's why we've done pre-filmed tutorials, because we know what it's like when you've signed up to a course and you miss one session because you were ill or you had an appointment or a holiday. It can be so hard to catch up on it again, and that demotivates us. So we pre-film the tutorials so that they are there when you need them to be, and you can work through them at your own pace. As I said, there is no deadline to complete the work. You have access on your portal for 7 years. Now, obviously, it shouldn't take that long to complete the course. But what I'm saying is, although the course is designed to be completed over 2 years, if you need 3 years to do it, that is absolutely fine by us. There are no deadlines each term. You can hand in your work any day of the week. Now, aside from certain points in the year when we go offline just to have a bit of break with family, we turn around the marking of that within 7 days. So you can still submit the work when we're offline. It's just that you might have to wait a few more days to get it back. Yeah, hopefully, and it definitely seems to be something that people get a lot of use out of, that ability to be able to submit work whenever it suits them. You know, you might have, I don't know, some building work being done in your house that's just disrupted, or you're going traveling for a month, or this course can be paused and you can pick it up whenever you like. And equally, we find it at this time of year, people are having other exams and other commitments that come up that really need their dedication and they can't be moved. This course can be put aside. So we know that a lot of other courses and qualifications don't or can't have that flexibility, which is why it's more important that we provide that as a facility for you. And that applies to the way you pay for the course as well. So as I said, I touched on it before, I come from a working class background myself, and affordability was really key for us. Private tuition is really expensive. It's great if you can afford it, but it is expensive. And I know I don't want anyone to be eliminated from being able to achieve qualifications in creative subjects. So again, this is why it's so great that we could go online, because it brought the cost down massively. If you've looked at what tuition costs and you think about the fact that I said it's 4 hours of content a week, if you was paying 4 hours of tuition a week, I should do the sums really, but it'd be a lot of money. So all of our courses are payable on a subscription plan. We don't want anyone else to have to pay up front. You can if you want to, but we don't ask you to do that. It's a lot of money to find up front. I should highlight we're under a price review at the moment. So at the moment, if you book a level 1 in total costs £460. It will be increasing to 480. The level 2 at the moment costs 570, but it is increasing to 600. And the way it's increasing, so at the moment, when you book onto level 1 or 2, your first payment will be the 1st of September, but it will include an additional admin charge of £20. So that first payment will be bigger. And it's for 22 months. What we're moving to is taking the first payment on the 1st of August, and there'll be no admin fee added onto it. So it'll be either £20 or £25 a month, and it'll be over 24 months. It seems to make more sense for people as well in terms of trying to work out when the payments end. But we're also sending out a little starter pack. We're introducing that this year as a way of making it easier for organisation your end. So it's £20 a month, £25 a month. But I think the best feature of this is that it's a no obligation subscription plan. So if at any point, for any reason, you need to cancel your subscription, you can, and there is no judgment from us. You don't even have to give a justification. You just send us an email, and as long as I need 3 working days notice to be able to cancel the subscription before the next payment is automatically taken out, I'm more than happy to do that for you. Again, with current financial climate and us not knowing what's coming around the corner, I think it's a really important feature to know that actually you're not committed to it for the 42 years if you perhaps need not to be. But the other really good thing about this is that although we say we've cancelled it, in effect, what we've done is paused it. We do cancel the subscription, but if at any point you want to come back to the course, circumstances change, or your learner's more engaged, or your financial circumstances change, you just book back on at one of our enrolment points and you pick up from where you left off with the payment. So you're not penalised financially. You don't pay anything additional. There's no admin charge. We just put you straight back on and you can pick up from where you left off. I know it's become quite handy because people have taken payment pauses in effect, or payment holidays when things have come up, or perhaps they're going traveling for 6 months, for example. They're not going to do the course or make use of it, or that extra money could come in useful, so they pause it and then come back to us at a later date. So hopefully that is good news for a lot of people. As I said, there's no minimum or maximum age. We can give guidance, and like I said, we'd say 11 to 12 plus for level 1 and 13 plus for level 2. But for both of those levels, we have got learners of younger ages working their way through or have qualified already. Now, the no maximum age I've put on there because actually we do have a couple of parents who are learning alongside their learners and getting their qualifications as well. So it was just to let you know that that is an option if you were interested. It's a good way of engaging some more reluctant learners as well, I think, if you're doing the work alongside them. So as I said, level 1 or level 2, there's no way of me being able to determine and say outright, this is what your learner needs to do. I can have a discussion with you and I can guide you if you're unsure. I would definitely say have a look at the sample sessions on the closed groups, have a go at them. If you're still not sure, you could send them to me and I could give you my viewpoint as well. So, but ultimately it's your decision. Don't worry about getting it wrong, because like I say, we can adjust it at a later date based on assessment. So we can always switch it around. You won't have lost money. We can just switch the payments over to the other level. Just to clarify though, the main two differences between the level 1 and level 2 is the amount of time that you need to dedicate to it. The level 2 requires much more detail writing, whereas level 1, you can almost, for a lot of it, get away with bullet point responses. Level 2 needs more explanation and justification. And then there's that business enterprise unit. So if you've got a really reluctant writer, my son, for example, is one, level 2 might be a stretch for them if they're younger. Level 1 might be a better way of engaging them. So what happens next once they've got their qualifications? As I said, we can't guarantee anything in terms of what colleges will accept what qualifications. I can tell you that parents have been coming back to us in the last 12 months because we had a finished round of qualifications and saying to us that they were able to get onto level 3 courses at college with their level 2. As an example, we had a young man who did, I think it was 3 IGCSEs. He did a level 2 mixed media and a level 2 cookery with us. And for a course that required 5 GCSEs, he was able to get onto the level 3. They accepted both 2 of our level 2 qualifications in place of GCSEs. And they also said the electronic portfolio, that photo gallery I was explaining, was a really nice touch for the interview because it gave them a real insight into his working ability. So I can't guarantee it for you, but the feedback we're getting back from parents is this is allowing their learners to get into catering college or to get into colleges of further education to study level 3 subjects, for example, BTECs in like art and design or media courses. I think we have computer game design as well. I think that might be what that young man's going on to do. There's a few of them. So if you do want more information, obviously don't take my word for it. The best people to speak to are the people that are already on the courses or even their learners. And the best place to find some of those people are within our closed groups. So I've just taken a snapshot of some of the feedback we asked for last week. But everyone's so helpful in these groups. If you post a question, you're guaranteed to get an answer from someone in that community. And they're in a better place to explain to you as the parent or as the learner how the course works for them. But saying that, if you have got any specific questions for me, maybe you're watching this retrospectively after the live and would like to ask a question, you can either put it in the dialogue box. I'll be monitoring these lives for a few days, or you can message me direct if you wanted to ask privately. The best way to contact me is via my email address, which is technologytriumphs@outlook.com. I've just seen a comment on here. I'm just going to show it. Thank you. So as I was saying, I'm not making this up. Mine did level 2 textiles and got onto level 3 art and design at college. There we go. Another example of how it is helping people get onto those next steps, which if you're not getting these formal qualifications, it's a much trickier for home editors to go straight into a level 3 at college. And they're often having to do a level 2 course first and then onto a level 3. So it's definitely giving people an advantage with progression. And then finally, there's another one there. This was from a cookery learner direct. It wasn't parent, it was a learner. And he's now going on to apply for an apprenticeship and working part-time in a woodworking company. A lot of the feedback we get from parents is about how this is helping their learners with confidence and self-esteem because of the feedback they get and that they can see they're progressing, actually achieving something. So that's just as a side note. You're getting a qualification in a subject, so you're upskilling and you're developing your portfolio, but actually something else is going on as well. It's actually helping some with anxiety and it's helping with just developing those skills that help us in aspects of life. So as I said, best way to contact me, email technologytriumphs@outlook.com. The Facebook closed groups are there for you to join to find more information. You don't have to already be enrolled onto the group to join the group. We will let you in. If you want to book, we use a booking system called Class for Kids. So if you just log on to Class for Kids and look for Technology Triumphs, you'll find all of our courses on there. Like I say, if you book before the 1st of July, I will honour the current pricing plan. So it doesn't start until September. There's a bigger amount on the first payment, but then you finish your payment sooner and pay less overall. If you book in from the 1st of July onwards, then the new price structure will stand. So it starts on the 1st of August and it will be 24 payments of either £20 or £25 a month. I think that's everything. So I'm just going to ask one final time if anyone's got any questions or anything they wanted to add or input, please do so. Because I know what it's like. You come off the phone or you press send on an email and then you suddenly go, there was something else. But if that is the case, you can ask me anyway. I shall leave it there then. Thank you so much for joining us. The last thing I wanted to say was just if you do know of any other people that you think would benefit from knowing about us and knowing about these courses, please feel free to share the word. We rely pretty much 100% on word of mouth. I think nearly all of our bookings come from recommendations from other parents. We think Facebook do well enough to avoid paying them for advertising as well. And I just don't think that's as significant as personal recommendations. You know, I can sit here and say, oh, these courses are fantastic and great, but actually that doesn't really mean anything. Of course, I'm going to say that. Speaking to the parents and learners and their experiences is the best way to go. So please feel free, like I say, join the groups, ask questions there. Everyone's so helpful and it's a lovely community. I can see another question's come through. That was lucky. I was just about to go, so I'll just show that. Thank you, really helpful. We're doing level 1 cookery, but hoping to book into level 2 mixed media next. This has really helped. Oh, awesome. So you'll have a good understanding already of the format, but level 2 mixed media is exciting. It's actually gone through a rebrand. So with the extra tutorials, so I said about the cosplay and the special effects makeup, those tutorials aren't on YouTube yet. They're going to be going up in the next couple of weeks. We've had a new creative consultant helping us who was a home editing learner herself and is now at the Brits studying art and design, and she's been creating some fantastic tutorials on some of these more interesting areas as well. So in a couple of weeks, what I'll probably do is post a link to a couple of them on our main page so you can have a sneak peek at what some of those tutorials as well. Thank you so much for joining me. We've got another live event tomorrow. So if you've got even younger learners or really reluctant writers, the entry-level creative craft mixed media might be ideal for them. I'm going to be discussing that at 11 a.m. tomorrow. This might be more suitable for primary aged learners or those that just really don't like writing, because the focus is much more on the final outcome, on making products. And then aside from that, we've got level 1 and 2 textiles on Thursday. Debs is going to be hosting that one because she's our textbook expert, and that will be at 2:00. So like I say, feel free to join us or spread the word and let other people know where we are. Have a lovely day and the rest of the week. See you later.